Hello, today I'm going to show how I implemented the audio for the Implementournament hosted by Airwiggles. So basically the challenge was that you implement your own game audio into a custom-made video game. So first, here is the Unreal project, and there are two blueprints that are important to us. When opening project, we just had these custom-made events here, but I've added different print strings so we can understand what the custom events do and what values they have. This first event here, we basically check if the thrust is active. So if this is true, then we print thrust started, and false, thrust stopped. We have one that's forward speed, and we print the value of this variable. We have something called on-steer input change, if we go left and right or up and down. So we're gonna print that out. So if it's input X for left and right and input Y for up and down. We have an on-started boosting event. So start the boost, stop the boost. On spaceship collided. So basically you can collide into these asteroids that are on the map, and there is a different collision force. So we check how what values those have. We have some shooting laser events, and that's it for the blueprint spaceship, and then we have one for the asteroids. And here I have set up something so I measure the distance from the player camera, since that's where the listener position is, to where the asteroids either get damaged or where they get destroyed. So in the game, looks like this. And here we see, first of all, here's the left and right. So we see input X has a value of 0 when I don't press anything. When I press it to the right, it has a value of 1, and to the left, -1. And then Y, when going up, is 1, and when going down is -1. Here we can see the shooting. If I hold it in, see we get some shots. And when I release, it says stop shooting. And yeah, when I start shooting, you can see that it says started shooting. Goes by real quick. And then when pressing space, we have this thrust started. And we can see that the maximum speed is 12,000. But when we hit the boost, we can see that start boost has started, and the value goes up to 25,000, which we get here. So this is the maximum forward speed. And there we crashed into an asteroid, and we got the red value here. And we can try crashing in at a slower speed. So that was about 31,000, and slower we have, yeah, in the hundreds, we had 1,000 something. Yes. And if we start shooting some asteroids, let's just shoot one. We can see the distance to player popping up there. And then when it blows up, we have another distance to player in a different color. So yeah, with all of these values that I have now, I understand how all the different events, how they work, and what values they range from. And with these, I can then set up like different parameters and RTPCs and things like that in Wise. So after checking all that, I started setting up these placeholder sounds with some post-event nodes, and just to like hear that, okay, we have sound coming and it's the right triggers and things like that. So here we can see the Wwise project, and I set up these different categories. So we have environment, and there we have the asteroids, and you can blow them up, and there are some impacts when you hit them with the laser. For the player, so yeah, it's the spaceship, and here the spaceship can collide with the asteroids. There is the engine, we have some steering, and the laser weapons. Let's start with the explosions, because that's fun. So I set up this blend container, and we can see that it has a low pass filter, and it also has this voice volume. So first of all, I set up an RTPC called asteroid distance, which we can see here. So it has a value of 0 going up to 250,000. It was the maximum value. And that I basically got from shooting at asteroids that were very, very far away. So from the print string, I could learn this information. So with that information, I chose this. I basically tried this afterwards, like what sounded good after I had created assets and put them in. But basically we have two random containers, which we see here. We have explosions far and explosion near. And the far is just one audio file that I created, and here we have some variations. And I did that basically because I wanted, like, when the asteroids blow up very far away, it's just this like very bassy type sound. This blend container for the explosions, they have both the explosions that are occurring far away and near, and we can see the blend track here. So somewhere around 75,000 to 100,000, a bit more, we have this crossfade section. And I also put this low pass filter, so we cut off the high frequencies the further away the asteroids are. So they really sound like muffled far away. And we open up the filter the closer the player is to the asteroids when they're blown up. There is also a voice volume. The further away the asteroids are when they explode, they sound less, and then the closer you are to them, you can hear them more. And I felt that this added some more depth to the game. Alright, here we can see the initial delay that I set up for these explosions that are very far away. So basically, if they are further than 100,000, then we start this delay. And yeah, the maximum is at 1.5 seconds. So if the asteroids blow up the furthest away, it will have a delay on the sound on 1.5 seconds. And we can also take a listen. So when we blow them up really near, that's the sound. And in this cross-fade section, we hear that they get a bit more muffled, and it's more this far-away explosion. And now the further away we go, we're gonna hear this delay. So maximum, I start it Now. And there we go, that's 1.5 seconds. And basically I did the same for the laser impacts. So when you hit the asteroids with the lasers, we play some different sounds. Here we have this really bassy sound. Compare that to when you're close to them. We have for the player, the spaceships, we have, here we can see, oh right, yeah, actually for this one I set up a switch container and some switches. So we have this impact 4 switch group, and we have the switches hard, medium and soft. I just tried out some values and figured like, okay, hard impacts should have a value from 15,000 and up, and in between, I think I set it like around 1,000. So from 0 to 1,000 we have these soft impacts, and then medium is from 1,000 to this 15,000. But actually in the end I just used, right here we can see, instead of having like 3 different variations of the sound, I only ended up with 2. So we have the soft collisions, and then we have these hard collisions. That was basically because I didn't have enough time to design some medium impacts. But yeah, I still have quite a lot of variations here. So these are the soft impacts. And up here we have the really hard ones. Alright, moving on to the engine. So we have this engine activate. So whenever you press space, it starts by playing that sound. And then we have a forward loop. And yeah, this forward loop is used also for the boost. So first of all, when you activate the boost, we're gonna hear this sound. So a bit more effectful. And then this loop starts also to play, but when boosting, the speed value goes up pretty quick. I put this pitch change on it, so here we can listen to it. And when the boost gets deactivated, it will sound like this. And if we take a look at the different events, we can see that, okay, when engine gets activated, we play the engine activate sound. And then we have a forward loop, which has a seek value and a delay for playing this loop. So basically, since I have this activate sound, I wanted to time that with the forward loop, so that the loop doesn't start immediately, that there is like a slight fade on it. And also I set up so that the loop starts at different, let's see, can I show that? Yeah, here, so that it can start at different, here we go, at different positions, so it sounds a bit more varied, basically. Continuing with the events, we have some stop events. So when the player releases space button, so when you don't want to move forward anymore, we play the deactivates sound, which we have here. It was this one. We also have a boost deactivate. And there was this when we stop the loop. And here we can see that we stopped the loop. I also put a stop event here for the engine activate. And this is if the player would just hit space real quick, you could actually hear this activation sound playing, even though that the ship doesn't really move forward, like just a tap. And we play the deactivate sound. That one. Then we have some steering sounds. Sounds like this. The player can actually steer the ship without using the thrusters. So basically pressing left, right, and up and down. And I wanted to have some kind of loop also playing here, so it's not just silent. And then we can take a listen to it. And it's like a low-key engine sound that's not really on, in a way. And we also stop it when we release the bottom. And lastly, we have some laser shots, which sounds like this. And yeah, I didn't do anything special there. And also, I added different ducking in this game. So, for instance, I wanted to hear the explosions more. So whenever you blow up an asteroid, we're gonna lower the volume on everything else. So here we can see how I've set up the ducking. So for the collision bus, so when the player collides with an asteroid, we're gonna lower the engine volume by 6 decibels. And I put also some fade out and fade in, and this I just did by ear. We also have these explosions. So when the asteroids explode, we're gonna also lower the volume for the engine bus and the weapon bus. And lastly, inside of this engine bus, I created another one for the boost. Basically, we're lowering the weapon sound effects if you're in boost mode. So in the game, since the boost looked so it looks so like prominent and impactful, I decided like, okay, that should be more in focus than the weapons, than the laser shooting. And so after I had created all the sounds and set up everything in Wwise, I basically connected then the different events and the parameters in the game. So here we can see, for instance, on thrust state changed, we play this engine activate, and we also have this forward loop playing. And we stop the forward loop when thrust active is false. So basically when the player releases space. And here we can see that on forward speed change, I set up this RTPC that I mentioned before. So a way to pitch up the engine sound when we go above 12,000. Also, in the end, I decided to just incorporate the steering sounds when you're boosting. and also when you're having a value that's over 20,000. And in the end, I also put this kind of low in the game, so you can't really hear it that much unless you're really listening for it. It's just like a nice touch to it. If the steer input equals 1 or -1, and that's basically when we either go right or left or up and down, then we play these sounds if the speed is more than 20,000, which we can see here. So when it's true, we play the steering activate event. And here we can see the steering loop playing. So basically when you just move any of these and it gets a value of 1 or -1, then we play this steering loop. So even though the engine isn't on, so we're not going forward, we're still gonna play this steering loop. And yeah, when it's false here, we basically stop it. So what this says that if the X or Y has a value that's not these, so basically when the value is 0, because that's the last option, and that means we're not moving, then we stop playing the steering loop. For the boosting events, pretty much there are one shots, so we just play them when that happens, and we stop it. Right, here we have the collision events. So when the spaceship collides with the asteroids, we have the asteroid impact force, and we check the collision value, and then we play the asteroid collision event, which had these soft and hard collisions. Moving on, shooting lasers, just a one shot. Alright, we also had these, when you start shoot the lasers, there is an event, and also when you stop shooting. And in the end, I decided not to have sounds for those. Mostly because I felt that they didn't really add anything to the game, and also due to time constraints, so I didn't really have time to explore this fully, but I might do that in the future. For the asteroids, so when asteroid is damaged, we have our distance RTPC, and we play this asteroid impact laser. And there we had these, so based on if they're close to the player or very far away, we had the blend container playing the different sounds. And lastly, we have when the asteroids explode. So, and it's pretty much the same thing. We have the same RTPC, and we have our event here. Alright, so here's the game. We can hear the loop here, the steering loop. And now we start the thrusters. And here comes the boost. And shooting. We hit something that's very far away, so it's the bass sound. And there it blew up. Now we're really near to an asteroid, and let's shoot it once. So shooting asteroids also will lower the volume of everything else when they explode. So let's take a listen to that while we're boosting. Alright, and that's pretty much it. I also kept track of everything with this game audio list. So here I write the name of the Wwise event and the status of it, and basically which level it is on. We only have one level in this case. The source, so the explosions and these impacts when you shoot the asteroids, they are in the BP asteroid, so the source is the asteroid, and then the rest are on the player. And then which trigger, it's here we can see explodes, player laser impact. We have some notes to keep track of how things are set up. The different assets that I created and the names, and then also how many of them they are. If they're one-shots or loops or both. Also the status on the asset creation, and also if it's implemented in Wwise. Then also I have these different tabs here for keeping track of everything. So for instance, the switch group that I have, this impact force switch group, it had these 3 different switches. And here are some notes. So they are assigned to the spaceship. So when the collision event gets triggered, basically. And we had some parameters, these RTPCs. Here are the 3 we had, and their minimum and maximum values. And also some notes. And sure, this game isn't really big, so this might be a bit overkill. But I feel like it's always good to have like the practice down. So if this would have been a big game, this would help tremendously. So yeah, that was the game and how I've implemented all of the audio in it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.